I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. And we welcome Nobuteru. Hi.
Hi, glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here too. Please introduce yourself to everybody.
Yeah, so my name is Nobuteru. I am a Christian samurai VTuber, and I am actually real fresh to doing this whole VTubing and streaming thing. I think I've been doing it maybe 2 months. So
Yeah.
it's been a blast, and I've really been enjoying it.
Excellent. What led you to VTubing and bringing your faith to it as well?
Man, that's a good question. Leading me into VTubing, I've kind of been in a bit of a rut in like my personal life, and so I really was kind of seeking out things that that I felt like would, give me a little bit of a morale boost, or at least allow me to feel like I'm accomplishing something.
Yeah.
I just really felt, God kind of put upon my heart that, there's this crazy mission field that very few people are in, and it's Twitch. It's streaming.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Okay. All right. I'm going to let you lead, God, and we're going to see how this goes. So
it's a pretty good thing to do all the time, is kind of let God lead and go from there.
yeah, amen to that.
Yes. And now, this is not your normal platform. Obviously, your potential audience is about 90% of the world.
Yes.
Was that when you realized that, was it a little bit intimidating?
I mean, a little bit, but at the same time, like I've always had a heart for reaching people for the gospel, and I was a youth pastor for a number of years, and I actually really miss doing that. Unfortunately, when COVID came, my youth ministry got dissolved,
Right.
and that was a really big bummer for me.
Yeah.
But I've never really lost heart, or kind of the
want to.
the want to continue to spread the gospel. And
yeah, it's when you have something like that going on, and you've got, and you're some people say, oh, that's a rut to get it. No, sometimes it's a groove. There's a difference between a rut and a groove.
yeah.
A groove is what's in an album that plays music. A rut is something you get stuck in. It's something different. And you were obviously in your wheelhouse. You were enjoying it. You were getting across the messages you wanted to get across. Probably working with folks that you enjoyed working with, and suddenly that's not happening, and then it goes on long enough to kind of dissolve it.
Yeah. It really was unfortunate. Our church kind of we adhered to like the first couple weeks of we didn't have in-person services, and so we kind of did everything online. The caveat, though, is that our church consisted primarily of elderly folk, and we had a lot, and so we did it out of like safety for them, because we knew that COVID was really impacting the older generation. And the caveat with that is that they didn't have the computer or the wherewithal technology to tune in online, and so we kind of we definitely had a big hurdle those couple weeks.
You had to somehow get it to them, and some of them probably had like smartphones they could use, but if they're like me, they don't have any idea how to use them correctly.
yeah, and that was kind of the tough part. So we did 2 weeks. No, I think we did a month. My lead pastor, he was, again, he wanted to be real safe and cautious, just because we had so many elderly folk. I think we did about a month online, and then we just decided, you know what, we're going to resume in-person services. Our state is kind of okay with it. Like, I live in a pretty conservative state, so they they shirked the guidelines at the time, but it was fine for us. We and honestly, everything came out great as far as like main services, and we got a lot of our standard Sunday attenders back, but one thing that did happen is all of the kids and all the students, they didn't come back, unfortunately.
Well, they found other things to do, and it's hard enough to keep their interest in one spot for any particular time. I'm a grandfather, I know this. But seriously, it does hinder the ability to get, because they're in a groove too. It becomes and it's a little tougher to keep young people in a groove than it is older folks for the most part.
Well, and one thing that I was really kind of trying to make as best a connection as I could is that you know, a lot of this Generation Z, it's really cool to see some of the statistics now. Like, you know, we've got really good growth happening in the capital C church across number of denominations. I think the fastest growing denomination is kind of a tangent. But the fastest growing denomination that I've seen is Catholics. Everyone really wants to go back to something a little more traditional, a little more separate than what the world is telling them. Right. And Generation Z, at least when I was, you know, a youth pastor for that little while, I was trying to bridge that connection of giving them something different than the world was. And that is only as effective as the person is willing to hear it, right? But I think that's a lot. I think that's true for a lot of things.
Yeah, but it also depends on the person giving the message too. If someone is up there just going through the motions and, you know, just kind of, you know, reading the book without, you know, going into any meaning of it, or even putting it in their voice, it's not going to make a whole big difference.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and it sounds like that you were very much into getting the message across, more than maybe the exact wording of what was happening.
Yeah, like, you know, I would read scripture, you know, word for word. I didn't want to truncate or misspeak, especially if what I'm trying to communicate is something from the Bible.
Right.
But other than that, like I would constantly try and come up with, you know, different analogies or a way to kind of make the connection for the kids to what's, you know, to the, you know, the point.
Right.
So,
right. And once you make that connection personally with them, then it's easier. Yeah, I can, maybe I'll draw an analogy here between a telephone line.
Okay.
It's much easier to talk to somebody over a telephone line if the line goes from you to them.
Yes.
If you're just kind of yelling, it goes everywhere and it's not focused. You need to make that connection to, I mean, you know, online you could do it now, but still you need to make that personal connection in order for the information to go through. Otherwise you're just kind of, you know, randomly throwing things out there. Sometimes that works, but it's a lot of work for not as much return in something like that. And so how did you get involved in the youth pastoring?
So kind of a roundabout story. I'd always kind of grown up in the church. My mom was really encouraging of having a relationship with Jesus, and I'd always felt like I kind of, you know, I would have classified myself as a Christian. But there came a point I ended up at a really low point in life. I went to a college right after high school and flunked out of a number of the courses, really just because I didn't apply myself. I wasn't, you know, I didn't take it seriously. Right. I was fresh out, you know, on my own. I get to make my own rules kind of thing.
Yeah.
And when I got back, like I didn't earn enough credits to graduate to the sophomore level. And so my parents said, hey, we're actually not going to support your college tenure if you're just going to goof off.
Right. Right.
And so then I didn't return to college. I tried to figure out what to do now that I was back home. I was having trouble holding a job. All my friends had moved away. Like, I was very alone, very, very depressed. And it got to a point, like, I woke up one morning and I was like, you know what? I thought to myself, you know what? I'm not going to do anything today. I'm not even going to get out of bed. Like, why waste the time and energy just to be a disappointment again? And I got a knock on my door about 10 minutes later, that my mom said, "Hey, it's Sunday. Do you want to go to church?" And at that point, you know, because I was real convinced that I knew what I was doing and I was going to stick to my guns.
Yeah.
I got up and got dressed and we went to church. And there was something about being back in, you know, to use kind of a cheesy phrase, being back in the presence of God, that it really struck a chord with me and kind of reminded me of everything that I had been missing or had to like turn my back on, essentially.
Right.
Because I just, that for that whole stretch, I was trying to live life my way. I was trying to do things my way, and it led to me being in such a low point. And finding God, you know, coming back to God. I met really cool friends within like 2 or 3 months of going to church. I started volunteering for the youth ministry at that time, and really just felt it impressed upon my heart that that God wanted me to do some kind of ministry, and youth ministry was really right up my alley. I've always had a heart for kind of the high school age, when it comes to that. So it was kind of a roundabout way. You know, it's not something I ever expected that I would find myself doing. The college that I went to was to be an airline pilot. I nearly failed speech class in high school. So it definitely was never like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a public speaker.
Yeah, every indicator is no.
Yeah. What there's the verse that says a man sets his goals, but the Lord determines his path, right?
Right, exactly.
And I am butchering it, if you'll forgive me.
I mean, the meaning is there. You could describe this a little bit. Going back to a church after you haven't been there for a while. The immediate thing that comes to my mind is being terrified of other people.
Yeah.
Not so much of being in the church, but just being judged by everybody in the church. Like, oh, they haven't been here for years. What are they doing here? They must have done something terrible to be in here, and they're just here one time. But it's not about that, is it? It's not about the other people in the church. It's about you and God.
Correct. Oftentimes, you know, again, I'll speak for myself. I am my own worst judge. I judge myself more harshly than strangers do when I walk into a new place. I think we kind of get stuck in our heads about, you know, whether we do or do not belong in a place. And that actually can prevent us from experiencing something really amazing that God has planned for us, because we hold ourselves back.
Right. Yeah. And no one can beat themselves up better than I can. I mean,
amen to that.
I've got so many shoe prints on my backside now that and I can, if you give me a couple of hours, I can throw myself into a pretty deep pit if I really want to.
Yeah.
But if you give, and this is probably not so much religious, but just, you know, basic day-to-day type things. If you hand somebody a weapon to use against you, then you can't be surprised when they use it. So if you go in to them and you're expecting people, you know, you say, "Oh, I'm going to try to impress Mrs. Smith or the Joneses or something," and you know, just don't worry about that. They're going to do what they're going to do. If you're not handing them that weapon to use against you, they're not going to use it. So
yeah,
and concentrate on the real reason why you're there.
And I think, be true to who you are, and remember that you're not going to please everyone, and not everyone's going to like you. So why try to cater yourself or impress the world when that will just ultimately be a disappointment, right?
Yeah, and I've always pushed the concept of believable Christians, and it's along the lines of walking the walk.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of folks who aren't going to be impressed if you come up and spout every verse of the Bible to them and try to hammer it into them. But if they see how you're living and they know that you're a Christian, then yeah, I can relate to that. I don't have to be perfect. I can occasionally slip up. Then that brings the point to them more that yeah, it's not so restrictive. I don't have to hold my breath the entire time, and that sort of thing. And that believability, I think, will bring more people um, to Christianity than yelling at them. That type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I like a pet peeve of mine is kind of the street corner preachers who they aren't really about like um they aren't really about sharing the gospel. It's there to, or they are there for, in my opinion, to just kind of bring attention to themselves. That's why like there's often a bunch of like conflicts that happen around him, right? Like the preacher is like waving around his Bible and he hits someone and says, "Oh, I'm just trying to, beat the demons out of you." Like, to me, that I think that does a lot of damage to the image
And not only that,
of
to their face
Christianity.
too.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Like if you were walking down the street and that's what you saw and you associated that with Christians, I am not surprised when someone is like, "Oh, yeah, no, I want nothing to do with you. I remember that guy."
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, it's that type of impression. Once once the people can believe in being a Christian, I think that gives them a more of a impetus to try to become one or become one.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I think the other thing too that an outside perspective on Christianity is that the bar is set so high for entry, and the truth is that the bar is at the ground. Like there's nothing you have to change about yourself. Come as you are. Jesus will change you. Jesus will impress on your heart what he wants, from you.
Right. And the some people always also get up into the definition of a Christian. And even some folks in my extended family have done that to me. And I remind them that it's not their definition I'm going by.
Yeah.
You don't get to define that. It's the big guy is going to define that, not you.
Yeah. There's one guy I listen to when it comes to what it means to follow him.
Yeah. Who's that?
That'd be Jesus.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even that is too hard for some people, right? I mean, he tells that to the young rich man, and the young rich man walks away disappointed because he can't give up his possessions.
Yeah, he might buy a gold cross to wear.
Yeah,
and then that's see, I'm good. No, that's not what it means. Do you find it now that you're doing this? How has your message been received?
I'm still new. I'm still pretty small. I think I just hit 50 followers last night during my stream. But I think it is something that that people do want to hear. As far as like some hope in the world, right? An example, there was a game that came out a little bit ago called I Am Jesus Christ. It's kind of a silly like role play game. You go through, but it's really good because you go through the gospel story and it doesn't try to make a joke of it. It doesn't try to like do a bunch of crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There are some like fun little mini games that you do because it is a video game.
Right.
But the best stream I have had was streaming that game, and then I would like stop in the middle of whatever's going on and expound on, oh hey, by the way, like, this is Jesus entering Jerusalem, and they're crying out, Hosanna, Hosanna.
Yeah.
I went on like a 20-minute diatribe on, hey, here is some more context for what is happening in this.
Yeah.
I long story short, I do think it is something that people are craving, in in a world that is kind of feeling a little chaotic and uncertain.
Oh well, there's definitely is that. Definitely chaotic and uncertain is a good way to put it without saying 4-letter words. Sometimes,
Yeah.
the you bring up an interesting part about the Jesus coming in to the town, and people, and it's the hosannas and everything, the palm leaves and all that stuff, and you got to also be ready to come up with kind of the punchline, which is these are the same people that turned on him.
Yeah, it's the same crowd, potentially. Again, we're kind of extrapolating a little bit here.
Yeah. But Jesus
the assumption is that the assumption is that these are the same group of people that when they cry Hosanna for the Savior, they cry crucify him at the judgment.
Yeah, and Jesus knew this was going to happen.
Didn't
run away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't try to Jonah himself. run away, and he kept his chin up and rode into it.
And it's because he knew that that was his entire purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why Jesus, that's why God became man in the flesh of Jesus and set about to do the ministry and ultimately be executed.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the glorious part is, he rose again 3 days later, conquered death, and now sits at the right hand of God.
Yeah. Freaked out some fishermen.
Oh, yeah.
Like, whoa, wait a second here. Yeah. But it is, again, without getting too, I'm no expert when it comes to the Bible and references and that sort of thing, but there's certain things that stick with you, and that's and that's certainly one of them for me, is that and then there was always those things like WWJD, what would Jesus do? Well,
yeah, classic.
If you could really do that, and that would be one thing, but you can't always do that because you're not Jesus.
Right.
Yeah. You can try. You can do what you are led to by God or the Bible, but I don't think people. And you kind of said that the bar, sometimes they place the bar way too high for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And God didn't put that bar up there; you did.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's not easy, but it ain't the worst, hardest thing in the world to do either.
Mm-hmm.
And when you meet up with people of different religions, how do you present Christianity to them, or do you?
It really depends. And that's not to say that I'm ever shy of sharing Christianity with someone. It is to say that I know someone is only willing to hear what you have to say as much as they trust you, right?
Right.
And so when I'm talking to someone on Twitch, like if I've done a couple collaborations with some people, and I make no assumptions off the bat, but I have a pretty confident feeling whether someone is a Christian or of some faith. up front.
Right.
And honestly, like my first while, I really just want to build like a friendship. I want to show that, hey, I'm upfront about my beliefs and who I follow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we can play games and hang out and talk about interesting stuff.
Right.
And I'm not gonna come down with a full judgmental hammer of, well, you should give up all of your things and follow Jesus.
Yeah.
I the analogy that was kind of given to me years back is that everyone is metaphorically driving a car through life,
mm-hmm.
and the people that you trust enough to allow into the vehicle have some kind of ability to help direct you down the road, right?
Right.
And so if I'm to have any kind of opportunity to guide them toward Christ, it kind of has to come with being a friend and being someone that they trust and appreciate what I have to say, right?
Right. Sometimes that comes first, and then again, like the believable part. they oh, they're a Christian. They do this. Maybe Christianity isn't that pie in the sky. I never thought I could reach.
Yeah.
And you can't. I don't think you can be arrogant with the religion either, and off-putting and to draw people in. First of all,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's bad marketing for one thing. I mean, let's face it, it's not a good look.
Yeah, and I think we can all agree that everyone can smell a fake person a mile away. So if you're just faking being their friend to find an opportunity to tell them about Jesus, they can tell that. They can tell that you're being artificial.
It's very easy to spot sometimes. But again, the charlatans are there because it works sometimes. People don't call older folks and tell them to put all their money in their Bitcoin account because they're just randomly doing it. They know that all they need is one person, and now they've got the cash cow. But I listened to a show one time on a shortwave radio station, and it was supposed to be a Christian show. and all I could do was laugh at it. It was basically the host brought in what they called an oracle. So first of all, just a little life tip from the old man. That's the first reason you should be skeptical.
Absolutely.
And the oracle proceeded to tell nothing at all about Christianity or the Bible. She said she had a vision of 37. And that was the amount of money they should give to this show to keep. And the whole time, 20-some minutes, they talked about everything will be great if you just give us $37.
Yeah. The prosperity gospel preachers, man, they are my least favorite.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they're working with the tools. Sometimes the message is still there. Down deep underneath.
They've got the veneer of Christianity, but what's the message? Well, I'm sorry, when you spend 30 minutes talking about give me money and maybe 5 seconds on a Bible verse to back it.
Yes. Today we're talking about the Gospel of Mark. First of all, please open your wallets and turn to where you have the money stored.
Yep.
Yeah, pay-per-view gospel. That's unfortunately probably the next thing, and I shouldn't have even talked it into existence. But again, that's the type of thing that can really, really tarnish the idea of being a Christian. If you had a family member that was roped into something like this, and you grew up and you saw that as a child, that's going to taint your picture for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not the easiest road to go to bring those people back. It can be done.
Yeah. It can, but I think the other reminder too is that we don't change people to bring them to God. Mm-hmm. Like God impresses upon their hearts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a verse that Jesus talks about. There's all these people ready for harvest, and that one man plants, another waters, but it's God who gets the increase. It's God who ultimately is responsible.
Right. And do you think that we have too many small, broken up, non-denominational churches now?
Do I think that?
Yeah.
I think that non-denominational is a little bit of a slippery slope because there isn't much in the means of like guardrails. For example, like let's look at kind of some bigger denominations like the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church has very clear guardrails about what they deem as Catholic belief, right?
Right.
And if there's a church out there that says, yeah, we're Catholic, but they disagree with a lot of the beliefs of the church,
right,
it's very easy to say, oh, they're probably not, even though they claim to be.
Yeah.
And I think you lose some of those guardrails when it comes to being under that non-denominational umbrella. That is not to say that there aren't Bible-believing, God-fearing churches out there that are non-denominational.
Right.
We've got a couple around here that are absolutely great, and God's blessing them.
Oh, absolutely.
I did kind of throw... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I did throw myself into learning a lot about church history and kind of where it's come from.
Mm-hmm.
Since like the Book of Acts, like 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to kind of see that, all these different denominations, they all didn't just appear out of nowhere. That you can actually track a lot of their history.
Mm-hmm.
You can trace it all the way back to certain events mm-hmm. and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and not always all the way back to Martin Luther, but there's
correct.
Yeah. There's other. But we have, I think, locally, a lot of small situations where I call it having the church of the blue carpet, because our carpet is better than their carpet. It's little things that cause schisms and breaks, and for reasons that have nothing to do with Christianity.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is, this is a personal thing, and I would definitely get a ton of blowback from a lot of Protestant churches. Yeah. I think the Reformation after Martin Luther, it almost invited the option to create a new denomination.
Oh, I think you're right. And for good or bad.
Yeah, good or bad, but it set precedent.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in many ways, when I look back at that history, when you've got one entity that pretty much runs the show, no matter what it is, religion or whatever, the absolute power for a human gets corrupted, and the message gets changed and molded either to fit the head person's belief. I mean, there's a lot of things that go on, and then that's why I see the Reformation as making a lot of sense back then, considering what was going on. But when you got churches that are advertising against each other,
yeah, that to me is a huge red flag. I don't think Christians of any denomination should be set out to tear down or defame another denomination simply because they have a theological belief.
Yeah. Go have a softball game against each other.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one way you can do it, or have a trivia night. I don't know if it works. it's it, it's not supposed to pit people against each other.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's used as a tool to do that so many times, or as a justification.
Yeah. The justification one is one I definitely hear a lot of.
Yeah.
Like, oh well, I'm in the right and they're in the wrong because XYZ.
Yeah. This Bible and this verse says crush the skull of. So I'm going to do that for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, there's a context. Read a little more than that. But you still got a lot of people who will look through to find the one needle in the haystack that might justify what they want to do rather than find out what they really need to do.
Mm-hmm.
How do you combat that?
Study and context. I've got a whole personal library of different books on, whether it's a commentary on the Bible or topical study books. I've got books from that help me understand Catholicism. I've got books that help me understand some of the other like fringe Protestant denominations. And then I take all of those and I kind of go back to, I go back to scripture, and at least then I understand, it makes sense why they think XYZ.
Yeah. They've taken they've looked at something differently than other people look at it.
Yeah. And it helps provide context to at least understand where someone is coming from in their argument, or their not argument in like the negative, like yelling at each other, but just like their position.
Mm-hmm. And when you run across somebody who calls themselves a non-believer, a complete atheist, I'm sure you probably run across one or two. How do you react to that?
I kind of really try and approach everyone with kindness and meekness, not to say that like I just let myself be walked upon or anything like that.
Right.
But yeah, like their thoughts on religion. I've got case in point. I actually have a really good friend who is pretty staunchly atheist, and he and I have had a pretty lengthy conversation about religion and faith. I made the joke that he is too smart for his own good, and he's convinced himself out of it. And he made the joke that I have just studied myself into it. And so we kind of poke at each other. But again, it goes back to that we have that relationship.
Right.
But I never demean or diminish what he has to say as far as like advice or his thoughts on whatever's going on, simply because you're an atheist and you just don't understand.
Right.
Like I think everyone is coming from their own place in life. They've struggled with their own trials, and I was once lost and I got found, and I'll help anyone else out that wants to be found. So it doesn't bug me if someone is an atheist. It doesn't bug me if someone is of another religion. I would love to show them that I believe Christianity is the one way, and if it works, great. But if not, like ultimately it's not it doesn't fall to me.
Yeah. You're not
convince them to be a Christian.
Yeah, and you're not holding the scales either.
Exactly.
I always think it's funny, in a kind of a warped way, I guess it's funny, when people point to somebody else and say they've done something wrong, they can't be a Christian like me.
Yeah.
Sin is sin. And if you think you haven't committed one, ask somebody close to you.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And it's the old having a plank in your eye and worrying about the little twig in somebody else's eye. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
it, and if you truly are sin free, then something's going on. It's not everybody is a sinner at this point, so it's not something that you just kind of you know elevate yourself to.
Yeah.
It's and amazingly we are all different, which is theoretically scientifically amazing in itself, but also tells you that God's like he didn't want automatons. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we'd all be planky.
Exactly.
It's everybody is different, which is to be
Yeah.
celebrated.
Yeah, exactly. Like if we were all automatons, then we wouldn't need a savior because we wouldn't have fallen, quote unquote, in the
Yeah,
first place, right?
yeah. I
Eve
would
wouldn't
be
have eaten the apple because she just would have obeyed what God had said.
right, and I would be the best automaton, by the way. Um,
Right?
I'm really good at just not doing anything. Uh, the and I think people. I'm hoping that eventually we get kind of back to where not worrying about that stuff as much, and
Yeah.
it's there's a difference between kind of spreading gospel and word um and hitting somebody over the head with it, and when you may not be in the right to start with.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's important to keep a humble heart and be willing to admit, like, oh, hey, I don't actually know the answer to your theological question. I haven't thought about that. Like, I don't know is such a more genuine answer than making something up.
Yeah,
And then of course, being willing to admit when you're wrong, being willing to um, have, take criticism.
yeah, yeah.
I,
I just assume that I'm wrong and go from there.
it's a great place to start. I do that too.
Now I'm probably wrong on this, but it also kind of covers your behind when you do something. I said I might be wrong. You no the I think it's refreshing that you're doing this, and I commend you for it. Is it tough to find game content to do that?
Is it tough to find game content?
Yeah, to
Um,
because
so
so many games are out there that are um one way or another that wouldn't necessarily be biblical or Christian,
yeah,
for a Christian.
yeah, and I've definitely heard that before. Like, for example, my mom growing up, she actually didn't like Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
She saw it. I believe she said she saw it as like it promotes animal abuse because you have creatures fighting each other.
Well,
And so she didn't want that to happen, like as we were kids.
right.
But that said, like it, I don't know. Like, is there anything inherently Christian about Pokemon? I would say no. I think I do believe that there's I believe it is C.S. Lewis. He talks about that Christianity is the true myth of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so any good, true story has some kind of reflection toward the truth.
Right.
And so when you look at storytelling through that lens,
Mm-hmm.
that it doesn't necessarily have to be that the game is like explicitly Christian or has like overtly Christian themes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of games that come out of the Eastern developers like Japan and strangely enough, even some of China,
Mm-hmm.
that these countries are not Christian by any stretch.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the Christian moral foundation
Right.
like the West does,
Right.
and yet when they tell stories it's so, at least for me, it's so easy to see, wow, that is a massively biblical principle that they implemented in this game.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just interviewed a fellow who's a Native American, um, and we talked a little bit about his beliefs, and his beliefs are rooted in his ancestry.
Mm.
And I talked about, well, I'm going to have you on. We talked about how the apparent dichotomy between his beliefs and your beliefs. But I also made this point: is you'd be surprised what's the same, as far as tenets and what, the general morality, that type of thing.
Yeah.
You and sometimes you focus on the similarities first, then go after the differences.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's a much better platform to start from if you're ever going to kind of wrestle in the faith debates, right? Like
Yeah.
if you can kind of come to some agreement or understanding on what you guys have in common, it makes it a lot easier to walk away after your disagreements and say, you know what, he wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah. And if just pray for him, or whatever, and you don't have to convert everybody you see, but
Yeah.
just do what you're supposed to do, and then they'll follow you eventually, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And we brought up the folks that are really obviously not Christians you'd want to follow. I always like to bring up when my wife and I talk about it, Pharisees.
Yeah.
And even Jesus himself talked about it, where do what they say normally is right. What they're reading the Bible correctly. What they do with it is not correct.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was no better students uh, of the scriptures than the Pharisees, and yet they themselves created such an elaborate system for the common man to come and be in communion with God.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that Jesus explicitly comes out and says, no, like, what are you guys doing?
And why are you putting barriers in here when there doesn't need to be?
Yeah.
Like putting an obstacle course in it, when it's tough enough to get there from here. Now you have to pass tests brought up by humans. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And again, it comes down to other people don't get to define you when it comes to things like that. What do you have planned for your channel in the future? Is there anything special that you'd really like to do with it that you haven't been able to do yet?
Yeah. So being real small, I don't always have active chatters in my comments. And with that, it's very difficult to talk to yourself when you're trying to kind of have a neat discussion on scripture.
Right.
So that is one thing that I would like to do is kind of have chat be like an open place for people to ask questions about Christianity or the Bible. And again, if I don't have an answer, like I'm not gonna lie to you. Hey, I don't have the answer. I haven't thought about that. That's a great question.
Yeah.
Let me come back to that.
Yeah. I won't sleep
so I would
for
love
a
to do
week
that.
because of it.
Yeah. So I would love to do more of that. I've really wanted to do kind of more personal growth things. There's a tons of things that I've come across in my life where I'm like, man, it would be so cool to learn that. I've wanted to learn piano for like 10 years and just have never done it.
Oh boy. Yeah.
I've wanted to get back into drawing and always find an excuse to not do it.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that where I would love to have the channel be that kind of place where, hey, we're gonna get together, we're gonna maybe we'll definitely talk about faith, we'll talk about the Bible, and maybe we'll do some cool things to kind of learn something new, whether that's a language, whether that's some art skills, whatever it may be. Yeah.
Well, that's a fine goal, I think.
I think it's a little lofty, and I think I'll have to do it in steps, but
well, yeah,
but
you're not going to be able to.
It is kind of the direction I want to go.
Yeah, you can't eat the whole elephant in one bite.
Exactly.
And to start with the ears first and work then. And you could do this, with other VTubers too that are of similar stripe if you find them. I mean, having somebody else on for a give and take while you're doing these things would be good, I think, in my opinion, because then you have somebody to bounce off of.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I would love to collaborate with. I would obviously love to collaborate with other like Christian VTubers.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of found a couple that I've like been in their comment section and
Mm-hmm.
chatting with them. But again, like I'm real small, and I don't ever like try and impress on them that, hey, yo, we should do a collaboration. I'm a nobody and you're kind of cool. So yeah, I just if it comes about, great. Like I am always happy to do that. But absolutely, it's I would love to do some of these ideas that I have in collaboration with someone.
Well, if somebody listened to this interview, I don't know how they wouldn't want to, because you present everything extremely well. Your voice is great, by the way, for this.
Oh, thank you.
And you bring it across comfortably, which makes a huge difference. You're not screaming at anybody. You're just saying, well, this is a matter of fact. This is how it is to me. And, and you're not bringing it across as judgmental or anything along those lines. You're fitting that believable Christian thing, which I push on friends every once in a while.
Thank you.
And
that's very kind.
Yeah, and I've come across a few Christian VTubers, and I'm going to bring you up to them, and we'll see what goes from there.
Oh man, I would really appreciate that.
Absolutely, and for folks out there who want to find out more about Nobuteru, we're going to have links in the description for this video. Just check out and see what they're all about, and hopefully you'll learn something in the meantime. And just thanks so much. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor to talk with you for this show, and I hope we can talk again very soon.
Absolutely, Eric. Thank you again so much. This has been so much fun. I was kind of unsure what to expect. I had watched a couple previous interviews that you had done, but this has been a blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.